Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of football, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You're listening to Season 6, Episode 18 of Full Time. I am your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full Time Podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full Time Podcast is also sponsored by Sioux Sports. To check out Sioux Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, including True Host Media and True North Radio, visit SiouxSports.com as well as Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. Folks, a very happy new year to all of you, our wonderful supporters. We hope that your 2026 has gotten off to a flying start. Gee, it is a new year, but the same, us right here on Full Time. How was your holiday, brother?
It was perfect. It was very quiet. It was very relaxing. It was very peaceful. It was everything I could have asked for. How about you, Scarps? How were your holidays?
I was in the exact same boat, some family stuff here and there, but for the most part, very relaxing and got to recharge the batteries. And here we are now in 2026. And as the phrase goes in football, we go again. In today's show, we will discuss the start of the January transfer window and the Carabao Cup. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gitano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We get today's show started with a discussion and a brief look at the January transfer window. The January transfer window has officially opened as of Thursday, January 1st, and the window will close on Monday, February 2nd. Gee, we are incredibly early into this window, just a matter of days, in fact, but this next month will be the opportunity for clubs to buy, sell, and loan players. What can we expect from this month's transfer window, in your opinion, sir?
I don't want to sound like a downer. I don't expect anything too crazy. None of the rumors we've been hearing, kind of leading into it, have been anything ridiculous. The last couple of January transfer windows have had some like insane rumors and talkings. This has been very quiet for kind of modern football standards. So I don't expect anything too crazy, but I do expect a good amount of movement.
Yep, I expect that too, and I think it will be a modest window with about three really big name transfers and signings and things like this. But beyond that, I don't expect anything too huge. Certainly nothing like the summer that we just had. And although we are incredibly early into this transfer window, we will get some of the major moves out there and some stories that have occurred so far. The following transfer market news comes from The Guardian, so be sure to check them out as they provide up to the minute transfer market information in the world of football. First is Brennan Johnson, who goes from Tottenham Hotspur to Crystal Palace for a fee of $35 million. The Welshman becomes Palace's record signing, eclipsing the $27 million they paid Liverpool for Christian Benteke back in 2016. The winger says he is super excited to pen the deal until 2030. Gee, what does this deal mean for Tottenham and Palace?
Um, I think for Palace, it's a great signing. He's a solid player for kind of a mid-table team. I don't really understand why Tottenham would sell to kind of a not that Crystal Palace is like a direct rival like the way Arsenal is with them, but like a team competing for those kind of upper mid-table, maybe European places. Don't really know why they would sell at such a pretty like fair price, only 35 million. Like if they had offered 50 or 60 for him, like sure, you understand, but it just seems like it's a really good deal for Palace, and just there's no real bright side for Spurs. Like I said, he's a decent player. He contributes enough. Um, so yeah, don't really get it from Spurs side, but from Palace's side, an excellent addition, I think.
I think so too, and Palace might have a player or two going out the door this window as well, so they're probably bolstering and sort of prepping for that. And in the case of Tottenham, I'm not really sure. Obviously, a big loss today against Bournemouth. I think it was Bournemouth's first win in the last 11 or 12 games. So a lot of discontent right now at that club. So yeah, I don't really understand it from Tottenham's point of view, but for the player and for Crystal Palace, not too shabby. And Taddy Castellanos goes from Lazio to West Ham United for 25.2 million. The forward who scored 50 goals in 109 games for New York City FC plans to bring a fighting spirit to the Hammers relegation battle. Gee, this seems like a good one for West Ham. The Hammers have also brought in Pablo Felipe this window to also bolster their attack all the more. But what are your thoughts on this signing specifically, Gitano, and does this help West Ham in the relegation fight?
I mean, it doesn't hurt them for sure. My issue with West Ham, and we've kind of talked about this a lot over the years, is like they bring in a striker who had great numbers somewhere else, and then they're kind of surrounded by not as good players, and just struggle to produce numbers. We thought Fulkrug would be a killer at West Ham. He wasn't. Like we've kind of seen players kind of go through this. Do I think that Tati Castellanos has enough skill and firepower to kind of single-handedly score enough goals to save West Ham? Maybe not, but I definitely think if he can bag 5 or 6 goals, they don't have to be perfect goals, they don't need to be great goals, but good timely goals, I think should be a decent contributor. And I don't know if his signing alone, I should say, will help save West Ham from relegation, but it's definitely maybe a baby step in the right direction.
Yeah, and we did talk about it. I don't know if it was on our previous show or there. I think it may. No, it was. I think our previous show that West Ham are looking to bring in 5 players this January transfer window. They're already at 2. We'll see if they can bring more. But again, a lot of discontent there with the manager, the style of play or the lack thereof, and obviously in a relegation scrap, which doesn't seem so promising right now. They lost a big game recently to Forest, which are direct relegation rivals at the minute. So again, to your point, probably doesn't hurt them this signing, but we'll see how far it actually takes them. And Gitano, again, we are incredibly early into this window. Those are the only 2 that we're covering here today on our show. We'll definitely have more in our upcoming shows. But are there any that you've saw or any that you think that are upcoming? I know that there's one for Manchester City that's pretty much imminent for the most part that have caught your eye as of recent.
Yeah, I'll save the big one for when it's official because I want to have something to talk about when it's official. But the one I do have, I don't even know if it really counts as a January transfer because City have had to recall Max Allen from his loan at Watford. 20-year-old center back just made his Premier League debut this afternoon against Brighton. That's kind of the best I got. We're 7 days into this window and there's really been nothing. But Max Allen's back from his loan at Watford. So that's about it for you.
Yeah, no, we're definitely early days, and there isn't much to talk about. The only other one for me, Rodrigo De Paul makes his move to Inter Miami permanent. They're calling him Messi's bodyguard. World Cup winner, MLS Cup winner, all the rest of it. So and that one was for 13.2 million, and not a bad bit of cash to get, not a bad bit of cash to spend, but that move is permanent. So that's all I got as well. But again, in each of our shows on Full Time over the next month, we will be right here updating each of you with all of the major moves made in the transfer window, and we can only hope for some great news and some great stories. Moving along, it's the Carabao Cup semifinals that are on the horizon. Gee, for you and I, we most definitely are looking forward to these matches as both of our teams are still in the competition, right where we want to be. So it's all to play for now. Gitano, how are you feeling, my friend?
A little nervous. The 3 teams left. If City were to even make the finals, like there's no easy games left. I mean, not there's easy games, but these are 4 top 8 Premier League teams left in this tournament. So definitely a little nervy, confident but a little nervy.
Yep, and I'm in the exact same position as you. You take a look at your situation right now with Manchester City, few injuries coming through. Newcastle seems to be gaining some form. They got a big win today in the Premier League. And then you take a look at Arsenal, not playing so great, but scraping wins, which is good. And then you got Chelsea, who just sacked Enzo Maresca, and now they got a new manager coming in. So there's a lot of what ifs around these semifinals, and that makes it all the more intriguing. And unlike all the other games that have taken place so far in this competition, which have been one-off knockout games, the semifinals are played over 2 legs to determine who will reach the final. So, your Manchester City has won this competition 8 times and have qualified for 9 finals. Arsenal, on the other hand, has only won this competition twice in its history, but has qualified for the final on 8 different occasions. So despite the fact that both of our clubs know what it takes to get to the stage of this competition, you guys know how to win it, obviously. My question here, G, is do you like the idea of a 2-legged semifinalist in this competition, as ultimately that is what it is going to take to get to the final?
I don't hate it, but if they changed it to a single knockout, I wouldn't be upset either. I think it's an extra 90 minutes that these players don't really need, considering how congested the fixture schedule is, kind of regardless of whether they make it or not here. So I just think if like I don't hate it, but if they scrapped it and just went to like a one-off throughout the entire tournament, I also wouldn't complain either.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. If they adopted what the FA Cup does, I wouldn't complain. And I'll tell you who else wouldn't complain: managers, because they are not happy with the amount of games that they have, especially the bigger teams who get to these stages of competitions, plus Premier League football, plus European competitions, and all the rest of it. So I'm with you. If they changed it, I certainly wouldn't be bothered. But let's get into some analysis now and previewing of these games here specifically. And we are first going to start with Newcastle and your Manchester City, Gitano. We have the likes of Manchester City, who have been prolific in this competition down the years, as we just mentioned, and have done really well, of course, to get to this stage. But they are going up against a good Newcastle side, who are the holders of this competition after winning it last year. So, Gaetano, I'd like nothing more before you give us your prediction of this tie to take us through your overall analysis of how things can play out here over two legs.
Yeah, it's this is I don't want to say it's the hardest, kind of draw we could have faced, because obviously Chelsea and Arsenal would obviously really not be easy over two legs either. But Newcastle are just so erratic, kind of right now, that you really have no idea which Newcastle side you're going to face. You know, when they're at full flow with Walter and Anthony Gordon, and Anthony Alanga, they are an extremely like dangerous team to play. They've already beat City once this year, 2-1. So it's not like they can't beat us. It's really just a matter of which Newcastle side is going to show up, because some days they are fantastic. And then sometimes, I think it was the game after they beat City, they were just like awful. And they lost like 3 or 4-0. And it's like, where was that a week ago? So I think they just have the kind of the widest range of possibly being good or not. Whereas, I look at Arsenal, I know exactly what to expect from them. Chelsea, I kind of already know what to expect from them, and they might surprise you with a good performance, but you kind of expect them to be not as great. Whereas Newcastle, just there's no like middle ground with them. It is either they are firing on all cylinders and are a killer team to play against, or they just completely collapse into their shell and get shelled. I would expect the former. I expect them to come out flying. I don't think they want to I think they want to go back to back. They don't want to obviously lose the trophy,
Right.
especially winning it last year is their first major trophy in God knows how many years. Not that, and I don't want to disrespect the competition, but it's not the biggest trophy to win in England for sure by any stretch. But you saw the celebrations in the city by the players. Like, it was a massive, massive achievement. So for them to be able to do that back to back, I can only imagine like just the pandemonium. So the players know how much it means for those fans. It's going to be a really, really tough one. Over two legs, I think City have enough. If it was a single knockout, I'd be way, way, way more nervous. But over two legs, I think, even if City were to lose the first leg 2-1, I think it's totally possible. It's for the second leg for City to come back and win it 2 or 3 or 4-0. So I'm going to take City, but by the skin of their teeth, I will say over two legs.
Well, and you know what? You just took the words out of my mouth for what I was going to say. If this was a one-off knockout game that's going to be played, of course, next week, I was going to take Newcastle all day long, because City has some really key and important injuries. Newcastle seems to be getting into a good run of form at the right time. But what people have to understand, we just talked about it, it's over two legs, and that second leg isn't played until February. There's a good chance that Manchester City is going to bring in at least one, maybe a couple of players, maybe some players like Ruben Diaz, for example. Maybe he overcomes that hamstring injury, comes back fit. So I think over two legs, Manchester City is going to be able to get this done. So I'm also going to back City. The only thing I am going to say is this: if Newcastle win, I won't be disappointed, because if Arsenal is to pull it off and get into the final, I'd love to play Newcastle, because they were the ones who bounced us out of the competition, and rightly so last year. They played way better than us over two legs. But if it were to be an Arsenal and Newcastle final, I'd love to get some revenge. But that is still down the road. I'm going to take City just like you. And next, it will be an all-London affair between Chelsea and Arsenal. Gee, this one could really go either way. These two teams don't have much in a head-to-head context that separates them at this moment in time. Obviously, if you look at European football and the Premier League, there is a lot of separation. But when these two teams go at it, it doesn't seem like there's much that separates them. So we can probably anticipate a very close affair. But I'm looking forward to hearing your analysis and who you believe will win and book their place in the final.
I'll try and keep it short because I want to hear your side of this because it is something that you're not neutral in. Um, but for me, as a neutral in terms of I don't support Chelsea or Arsenal, um, I look at this and I think Arsenal. It won't be easy by any stretch, but I think Arsenal has way too much quality all throughout that squad to lose over two legs to Chelsea. I think there's just even if Arsenal don't have the greatest performance in the first leg, I think they can definitely turn it up a couple of gears in the second leg. And I think that's the big difference. I don't think Chelsea has the ability to really turn it up. If they don't put in the best of performances, I think they're pretty limited in terms of their squad and like kind of not what they can get out of them, but like there's really not a lot of individual star power that can like crank it up a level. Whereas I look at Arsenal, and if Saka drops a 6 out of 10 in the first leg, he can turn it up another level and go to a 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10 in the second leg. I just don't see Chelsea having those types of players in their squad. So I think Arsenal, not easily, but I think they should be a little more comfortable getting the win over two legs.
I'd like to think so. Not that Arsenal makes things difficult on themselves. You just have to give credit where credit's due. Like when we played Bournemouth, for example, in the Premier League recently, like I don't care what anybody says, Bournemouth's a good team and they're managed incredibly well. So for them to kind of claw their way back and make things nervy and difficult against us, like you give credit where credit's due. I think Chelsea has that ability because of the quality that they have in their team. Yes, they have a million players, and I still don't get the sort of philosophy of that club, signing a bunch of guys under the age of 24 and just kind of hoping for the best. I really don't get it. Maybe one day I'll be surprised. The only thing I can hope for going into this is that Arsenal is strong, healthy, fit, that they're continuing to play in some way the way that they are, but hopefully finishing more chances. And hopefully Chelsea is going to struggle with an identity crisis, maybe trying to figure out the ideas of the manager and what have you. That is what I really need to hope on. I believe that the players are going to be up for it. I think the mentality is stronger this year than it was in previous years. So for all of those reasons and all of those hopeful thoughts, I also am going to take Arsenal. So, G, basically what we got here is, funny enough, on our show, we basically are predicting going to be a Manchester City Arsenal final. We can hope for that. I think it would be great for our show. But I also think, if that were to happen, it would be great for everybody, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I think when you look at the four teams left, I think that is the best final you could ask for, just in terms of the quality you would see on the pitch. Whether the game would live up to the hype is a totally other conversation, but I do think that would be the best final for the fans and like for neutral viewers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. The Carabao Cup semifinals, as mentioned, are played over two legs. The first leg will be played on January 13th and 14th. The second leg of games will be played on February 3rd and 4th. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we get ready to close out tonight's show, I want to extend our thanks to all of you tuning in. Gee, it's a great way to kickstart our 2026 show. A short one, a sweet one, but a good one. Thank you very much for tonight, sir.
Thank you again for having me. It took us a while to get here. We had a couple delays and some technical issues, but we got there. We got there in the end. So hopefully just kind of getting all the kinks worked out in the first episode of the new year, and then we'll be rolling for the rest of the year.
You got that right. And a big shout out to our leader at 91 Network, David McKeag. He just shot me a message during the recording saying sorry for the delay because they were in the exact same position as us. We're kinks and what have you. But in the end, we got all of our stuff together and it's going to get all pushed out. So make sure for everyone here to make sure that they go on 91 Network and support. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of January 19th, 2026. In that show, we will take a look at the January transfer window and Europe's Big Five. As always, we'll keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Podbean, and Spaces at suitoday.com. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Full Time Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.